Started. Welcome everybody. I'm so happy that you are joining us this evening. My name is Susan Walker. I'm franchise owner of the office here in Red Deer, and we've been having this series of virtual events for about the last couple of months. We will be continuing them now every other week, all the way until December, and then we will see what the new year brings. So make sure you stay in touch with your amazing travel consultant and that you don't miss any of these events. So joining me tonight, I just have to see who's all here, is Betty and Carol. And Phil, who's one of our new consultants. That's going to be doing a lot of adventure family travel. We've got Trish all the way from Drumheller, and handling the controls and taking the stress away from me is, of course, Miss Jordana there as well. So welcome everybody. We're super excited to have you. I say that every time, but that is just because I'm always super excited to have these events. Learning about the different ways of travel and where we can travel is what we need to do until we can actually go and experience. So tonight, I have a Kent with Exodus. Just about forgot your name for a second.
Exodus. Call me anything.
Right, yeah, exactly. So he's a really good friend of our office, and he is the one, our business and our support with Exodus Travel. And as some of you are on this, we will also be talking about a trip to Sri Lanka that's being planned in March of 2023. So there you go. So welcome everyone, and welcome the guy with the curly hair, Kent. And if you want to get started, the floor is yours. And if everybody wants to mute yourself, we will have times for question and answers at the end of the presentation. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Thanks so much for having me. And as always, I love doing these events. And as you said, you know, while we're at home and dreaming and wishing about getting on the road again and traveling again, I guess the next best thing is planning and thinking about it and seeing these beautiful images of places far and wide that we can travel to again once things open up. So thanks again. My name is Ken Phillips. I'm the Business Development Manager for Exodus Travels in Western Canada and the United States, and really happy to be here. I'm going to give, for those of you that aren't familiar with our company, I'll give you kind of a quick overview just to give you more insight into what we're all about and a few of the trip styles that we do and where we travel to. And then, of course, we're going to highlight one of my favorite countries in the world. I had the pleasure of going there a couple of years ago, and I think about going back every second since I got home from that flight. It was one of the most incredible places I've ever been. And you'll see some of my photos and why it's such a fantastic destination and why you're going to want to book this trip with Expedia. So let's get going here. Here we are. Beautiful images. That's us. We've actually been around since 1974, if you can believe it, just turning 47 years old this year. We're actually one of the oldest tour operators in the world. We are an adventure tour operator. We are the world leader in active travel, but it's only part of what we do. I'd say it's about half of the styles of trips we do: cycling, walking, and hiking. And then we do small group cultural, responsible wildlife, family, small ship expeditions, a little bit of everything. And we'll talk more about how those trips run. Lot of really wonderful people that work for us. For me, the award-winning guides, over 90% of the guides that work for Exodus are local guides, and that's really important. And we were talking about it just before we started, how important it will be to get traveling again and support our local economies in the regions that we travel to, and these amazing people that have an immense passion for what they do and taking groups on these trips. A lot of wonderful experiences that people do have on the trips with us, and a lot of people will book numerous, come back year after year, and I've met many of them that have done 15, 20 trips, way more than I have yet with ourselves. So it's really nice to hear when people are coming back and enjoying different trips in different parts of the world with our company. Very, very important also is small group size, especially in this day and age and when things do open up. A lot more, like I said, it's a lot more intimate. We can get more off the beaten path or more into the destinations that maybe you can't always see or get to with larger groups. And you see more, you do more, and it's just a very different experience. So we'll talk about group sizes as well. Responsible travel, really dear to my heart. We actually just finished a challenge. Our team in North America was doing a Ladakh and back. Ladakh is a small community in the Himalayas, and it's a small community in India where we are helping to plant fruit trees so they can sell the fruit in local communities to help put food on the table and what have you. And actually, we were able to raise enough money, I believe, to plant almost 300 trees. And this challenge, we were trying to do one of our treks in the Himalayas, which is 88 kilometers. And I am very happy to say I just almost hit 500,000 steps in 1 month, which is crazy. I'm still feeling it now. And then that's about 380 kilometers, I believe. But it was all for a good cause. And I love doing these projects and giving back to communities that we visit. And importantly, and you're going to learn about it tonight, especially with Sri Lanka, diverse and unique itineraries. So we travel to about 109 different countries. We have over 500 different trips of all different styles and for every type of traveler. So I'll kind of highlight a few of those before we do get into Sri Lanka. There it is, responsible travel. So as it says, and this is a really wonderful stat, 98% of our travelers believe we operate in the way that benefits the communities we visit. And a few of those initiatives are, water well projects, protecting tiger habitats in central India, taking kids out on educational day trips in the communities in the destinations we visit. And a lot of these kids never get the opportunity to go see those sites. So it could be taking kids in Cambodia to go see the ancient ruins of Angkor Wat, or going to see a portion of the Great Wall in China, the pyramids in Egypt. So many amazing experiences for these kids. And we're hopeful that they'll learn about the history and how important they are for their livelihood, and a lot of them become tour leaders as well in the future and protect these areas that are so imperative to the countries that we visit. And there's our tree planting project in Ladakh in the Himalayas, and banning plastic, which is really important. 2 years ago, we got rid of all plastic on our trips, and important that we do our part to eliminate plastic. And you're going to find this on trips moving forward. It's something that's really important to tour operators, at least responsible ones, is a safe and secure return of adventure. So having a lot more flexibility in booking with confidence. It's been a challenging year if you did have something booked, and I'm one of them, credits galore with airlines and what have you, but a new refund guarantee, a lot more flexibility in transferring if you had a deposit down on a trip, complete financial protection. These are imperative moving forward with post-COVID travel and traveling with confidence. So making sure that we don't open up destinations until they pass a 4-tier travel safety charter. Cleaning protocols are enhanced, healthy small groups doing temperature checks, making sure everyone is hygienic along the way, and having specialist guidance 24/7 in destination when we travel there is important. And where am I going to sleep? So when you go on a trip, and I'm going to show you some fantastic accommodation in Sri Lanka, but again, we try to find clean, comfortable, authentic accommodation, beautiful properties, hotels, family run, chalets. A lot of them are boutique. You'll have a little restaurant, a wonderful little pool. Some of them I've stayed in have a spa, sauna. You get a little bit of everything. In Europe, you're going to get some of the agriturismos, which is beautiful converted farmhouses. Just some lovely places to stay with a lot of character and a lot of charm. And then, as we said, small groups, big adventures. So maximum group size is typically 16. It's perfect amount. And average is around 12. Most of the trips I've done, we're kind of hovering in that 12 to 14, give or take. And if you're a solo traveler, we love you. We have a lot of solo travelers. 55% of our travelers go solo. So you're typically on a regular trip or even on a group trip, you're going to get a mix of, couples, friends, solo travelers. If you are traveling solo, we'll either match you up with a same-sex individual, or you can pay a little bit of a supplement, and they're quite reasonable to secure your own room if you prefer. And a lot of our solo travelers are women. I think that's about 65% solo female to male ratio, and just a great mix of people, wonderful people that travel on these trips. And then I'm just going to quickly highlight a few before we head over to Asia. So walking and trekking is one of the styles of trips we do. Our most popular and our #1 destination is Italy, and walking the Amalfi Coast is by far our most popular trip. It's been there for years, and I don't know when it's going to change. And it's a leisurely to moderate trip. We rate all our trips on an active level from a 1 to a 9, whether it be a regular cultural adventure or maybe a cycling trip or a trekking trip, so you can kind of see where you fit in. The Amalfi Coast, one of the best places to go walking in the world. Amazing food. We stayed at a beautiful family-run boutique hotel. You've got, if you're into archaeology, incredible ruins of Pompeii and Herculaneum. On a clear day, you can hike up Mount Vesuvius. We include a lot of optional time, or at least one day included in most of our itineraries, and also have some free time in the afternoon and evenings, which I find the flexibility is a really nice time for you just to explore on your own, or have some options of different things you may want to do outside of the regular highlights of the trip. So you might want to take a little island boat ride out to the island of Capri, which is quite spectacular. This one I always talk about because it was my first trip for my parents, at least their first trip with us. And they're in their 70s and they love food, wine, and walking, but they didn't want anything too strenuous. So I said, this one's a leisurely level 1. You're doing an average of 4 to 10K a day, but lots of rest time, beautiful picnic lunches, or you're going to a little town and hit up a winery and spend some time at the winery, which we do in the Douro Valley of Portugal, starting and ending in Porto, one of my favorite cities in Europe, and exploring the Douro region, the beautiful rural countryside, fantastic properties. It's a premium trip, and just a lovely place to get away. For us, it's about getting away, about a refreshing experience, and coming home feeling rejuvenated, and getting out in the fresh air and seeing these beautiful places that a lot of people never see outside of the main tourist trail when you go on a tour. Inca Trail, I had the pleasure of living down in South America for a year and a half. It's one of my favorite parts of the world. Absolutely fell in love with Peru and South America. I love, number one, it's the culture. The culture and the people are incredible. And of course, Machu Picchu being the highlight, to me, it's a must see in your life. If you don't have it on your dream list or your bucket list, you should, because it is one of the most awe-inspiring sights you will ever see in your life. And whether you want to just go visit Machu Picchu and do a trip that is more land-based and not focusing on doing a trek in the Andes, of course, you can't do that with the Inca Trail or some of the other hikes in the region, but there are a number of trips where you still get to see the best of Peru, maybe hop over to the Amazon, stay in a jungle lodge, and also visit the site without having to do the 4-day trek. So lots of opportunities there. And continuing, whether you want to go in Chile and do some wine touring, Argentina's fabulous, and Colombia, Ecuador, I could go on and on about South America. One of my loves, and it never really was a huge interest of mine until I started working for the company, is cycling. And part of it was because I wasn't a big cyclist and I didn't have a lot of experience. And then when I saw cycling trips abroad, I thought you had to have a lot of experience, and it was people that, are cycling all the time and doing races here and there. Absolutely not. You do get some of that, but at the higher levels. For most of our trips, they're typically in the active level 2 or 3. Very accessible. A lot of people that are doing them are first timers. They might just be people that cycle to work or maybe cycle a bit on the weekend. And because it's so accessible, a lot more people are getting into this, and biking is becoming huge everywhere. I'm seeing it all over Alberta, Western Canada, North America. We include the bikes. You just bring your own helmet and gear, and even better, we have a support vehicle. So it's typically going to have a trailer or back of the van where you can put a bike. So at any point, you've done a few K, maybe you have a wobbly knee, or maybe you had a couple too many glasses of vino the night before and you need a break, you just don't have it in you. That's what it's there for. You're there to enjoy your holiday, but get out on 2 wheels and see some of the rural countryside in these places, and visit, again, places that most people don't get to see in the countries, especially in places like Europe or in Southeast Asia, where they're very popular. And again, we talked before we went on, electric bikes, huge. I just saw a couple new ones pop up here in Edmonton where I live, and I know, whether it be in Red Deer or Calgary or Vancouver, Victoria, you're seeing more and more of them all over the place. They're fantastic, and they're getting lighter. The battery life's longer. I've been on 4 cycling trips now, and 3 of them we've had people on the electric bike. They loved it. You can still cycle going up a hill. You're not using as much energy. It helps you, and it's great for maybe couples or friends at different levels that want to do a trip together. So lots of interest in those. Sadly, this will bring a tear to my eye. My last international trip was to Italy, and I fell in love with this part of Italy. And whether you want to do an active trip or a regular cultural trip, most of our trips in most of the destinations we visit, you can do any style. So we'll talk about Sri Lanka. You can do a cycling trip in Sri Lanka. You can do a cultural. You can do a trekking. Same with Italy. Do you want to do guided, self-guided? Do you want to cycle? Do you want to do a cultural highlights trip? No matter what, this is a part of Italy. If you love Italy or never been or want to go back, I definitely recommend Puglia Matera. Stunning and pretty easy to get there. I flew via Vancouver to Bari, and that's about an hour transfer to the beautiful UNESCO city of Matera, where we start our trip. And from here, and again, it's similar to a lot of the other trips that are non-cycling. You're going through these amazing rural areas of olive groves as far as the eye can see, and you're staying in these beautiful converted farmhouses, and then you're seeing some of the most beautiful coastline that I've seen, very Mediterranean. So you've got the Ionian Sea, the Adriatic Sea, beautiful crystal clear blue water, amazing for photography, great for swimming in. Fall is fabulous. I was there at the end of October. It's raining up in Northern Europe, 25 degrees Celsius, not a lot of tourists. Fantastic. Absolutely loved it. And a great place to cycle. And some of my photos, incredible coastline. Again, I was in awe every time I came into a new area or turned a corner, your mouth just drops just from the beauty. Gallipoli on the left there with the beautiful old walled cities, one of the best seafood restaurants I've ever had, fantastic wine, and it's very affordable compared to other parts of Italy down there. Another historic UNESCO town of Alberobello with the traditional truly coned houses where you actually stay in one. And then the highlight of the trip is our converted farmhouse, family run, olive oil tasting, 5-course dinner, beautiful pool. Some of the group did some yoga as the sun was coming up in the morning, did not want to leave, let me tell you. Some of these places you'll want to stay for a week. And then moving on to cultural trips. So highlights of ancient Greece. Who here has been to Greece? Again, a place where I lived in Santorini a number of years ago, but not a lot of people ever see anything outside of Athens. It's kind of the starting and ending point for a lot of the Mediterranean cruises or for island hopping. But if you are a history buff or have that interest to explore the ancient ruins of Greece, it's a fantastic trip. And some of our best guides, Thanos being one of them, he's amazing. He's one of our world-renowned guides in Greece. He does a lot of our trips, and people ask for him by name. They've seen videos and such. But it's spectacular, and of course, not just in Athens with the Acropolis and what have you. You're getting out to see all the ruins that a lot of people will never see because they don't leave Athens. So trips like this, I would say my boss's favorite. And again, going back to Italy, spectacular Treasures of Sicily. It's probably the one I'm going to send my parents on next. It's a cultural trip. And the great thing about this, you're circumnavigating the island and seeing the best of Sicily. So from the food to the wine to the beautiful waters, a lot of archaeological sites and beautiful accommodation. And then, well, Susan, this will make you a little upset because I was supposed to host a trip and Susan was supposed to be on it last May. So we will do it again. I was in Egypt back in the mid-90s, so it's been a long time. And I was dying to go back. So unfortunately, some plans went awry, didn't they? And we've been waiting ever since. And we still have, I still have my credit with KLM, and we're going to get there. But we do a really beautiful trip in Egypt, the Nile River Cruise. And we have a few trips in Egypt, but, fantastic 9-day, only maximum 100 people on this boat. Our groups are typically max 20 that's going to take up that portion on the boat. And you're kind of doing it all. You get the ancient temples and tombs. You get to spend a few days on the Nile. And, I kind of laugh every time I think about it lately. I'm just thinking about that boat that got stuck in the Suez Canal. Don't worry, it's not going to happen. That's a crazy story, by the way. But, to get to see the pyramids, and I don't know if you've seen lately the procession where they're moving some of the mummies like that. It was spectacular, and you can view that online as well. So there's so much to see and do in Egypt. And again, for me, who has a history in University of Anthropology and Archaeology, it's anytime I get to go see a famous site or some ruins, or archaeological site, I just get excited like a kid in a candy store. So can't wait to go here and to see the Valley of the Kings. I didn't get there last time I was in Egypt, so would love to go see that. So again, a premium river experience there on the Nile. And that all leads us to another part of the world. One of my last trips a couple of years ago, I took a group of travel agents, and I had heard great things about Sri Lanka. Nothing prepared me for how amazing it was. So if you're here today and you're interested in going to this part of the world, you will not be disappointed. Let me tell you, I've done some traveling, a lot of traveling in Asia and India, and it's now one of my favorites, and I'm dying to go back. I was telling Susan, I still talk to my leader there that's worked for Exis for about 15 years. We've had other groups go back, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity that Susan is arranging for 2023. It's lots of time to prepare. and I'm happy to follow up at some point and do another talk or do a Q&A. But in the meantime, let's kind of look at what to expect when you go to this beautiful place. And again, why Sri Lanka? So to me, it has everything. And that's what I found there. It has beautiful beaches. If you're a wildlife buff like me, incredible wildlife. I was actually astounded at how much we saw, from the elephants to the monkeys. Sadly, I did not see a leopard, and a lot of people going to Sri Lanka, that's a must. And it's funny, I've missed leopards in Africa and I've missed leopards in Sri Lanka. So the leopards do not want to see me, I guess. They're not for me. But I was just astounded at the amazing array of wildlife and bird life. If you're a birder, just incredible, beautiful, bright birds that didn't even look real. So a pair of binoculars is a must. Incredible culture. We did a day of cycling, which was one of my favorite days, and we do it on I believe it on the trip that we're looking at. It's a day, and we go kind of the back waters of a little village, and we stop at one of the most amazing little family huts. And I think I have a picture in here, and she makes the best curry. It was incredible, and she was lovely and her family, and we had a wonderful day there. Hiking, you can do some trekking and hiking. There's some beautiful peaks in Sri Lanka. If you're a tea lover, the one thing I will warn you, I'm a coffee drinker. No coffee in Sri Lanka. They do, but it's the instant stuff, not so good. So you got to get used to tea. But the tea's fabulous. And we go to a tea plantation. Fantastic climate. So if you need some warmth in your life, you're going to find you're going to love it there. Really good value, incredible, very affordable. And as we will touch on briefly, very close to India and the Maldives. So a lot of people will either do a pre-trip, a South India, and do kind of Kerala, backwaters of Kerala. There's a great trip, and some of the tropical beaches on the south. Or they can do it post, and the Maldives is a great trip on the other side because they're so close and it's really easy to get to and from. So good chance there to see a few other places if you have the time and the budget. And the people, just warm and smiling and friendly, and every day was a new adventure, and every day I had a smile on my face. And I'll be honest, I can't say that about every trip I've been on in my life, and there's been a lot of them. But when I was in Sri Lanka, that was the smile on my face. That's Suresh, who just sent me a message the other day. And again, I was really impressed. The guides, a couple of the guides that work for Exodus, they only work for Exodus. They love the company. They love the groups. They love what they do. And the other one, Sharon, I think he's in here. I always mispronounce his name, but he's been with Exodus for about 20 years, and I met him when I was there. The guides are phenomenal. But that was on our cycling day, and then Suresh is cutting up some fruit there. And this video I want to show you here.
My name is Roshan. I'm an Exodus leader. I lived all my life in Sri Lanka, my home, and you're all welcome. I love my country. It's got something for everyone. Here the This is Srigiriya, the Lion Fortress of Sri Lanka. The feat of engineering is amazing. When I take people around, it gives me so much pleasure. And I realize we've got everything here. This is Chandra. She cooks the best curries in all of Sri Lanka. It's gonna be hot. Sri Lankan people are relaxed. When you're relaxed, you're not stressed. You can smile, laugh, chat. You have time. That's what it is. We have time in this country. I can tell you all about this place, but it wouldn't make any difference. Come see for yourself. I'll tell you more when you get here.
There you go. And actually, those are a lot of the places that we visited, and the village. Amazing. So back to accommodations. Lovely. And you're going to see some of my photos, just beautiful properties, pools, and you're surrounded by this lush greenery and trees, and you'll see monkeys and birds. And it's just, to me, it's paradise. And a lot of times when you go and you stay in a hotel or something, you don't always enjoy the ambiance or the environment around you. In Sri Lanka, it's all about being outside, enjoying the sounds of the night, and being out on having your meal out in an outdoor environment and sitting by the pool. You're not stuck in your room. And I don't recall spending hardly any time in my room until it was bedtime, just because I enjoyed the nature of where I was. And here are my photos. So this is the hotel where Exodus stays at the base of Sigiriya Rock, which is the lion rock that Rashawn was talking about there. And I remember walking up to the hotel. I'm like, yes, I love it here. Beautiful open air, beautiful pool. Look at the view. You know, it's just stunning. And that was our base for a couple days to explore the area. And then on the right, another hotel. That's a lake. I can't, my apologies, I can't remember the name of the lake, but the lake in the background. And that was actually post doing our elephant safari just by sunset. It was amazing. And we get to this property and it's got this kind of terrace with a pool, and you're overlooking these little kind of islands and the lake, and then all these monkeys are coming from everywhere, and just again had a lovely time. And so really lush. So you'll see the lushness and the greenery, which I love. I'm all about it. Food, very heavy on the vegetarian. So you will find meat and you'll find seafood, but it's a lot like South India as well. So a lot of curries, but again, fresh, healthy spices. You know, it's very colorful. And the breads are amazing. The naan breads, like, just, you know, I found, and I'm not vegetarian per se. I don't eat a ton of meat, but I felt very healthy in Sri Lanka. I felt good, and the food, you know, makes you feel good, and you will notice that when you're there. So the food was astounding. And this is, again, some of my photos. Like, you can see it's the vibrancy too in the colors, right? So lots of vegetables and fruits, and it's all fresh, locally sourced food. And that's the difference too. And that's why you feel better when you eat it. It's amazing fuel. And then beaches. And of course, you know, what's a trip to Sri Lanka or, you know, South India, Maldives without these amazing palm friend-lined beaches. I ended up spending, didn't have a ton of time. My flights were delayed on the way there. So my post, luckily I booked a post a few days in Negumbo, which is on some of the itineraries of a little town, fishing village by nature, but it's along the beach, and I found this beautiful little place to stay in, and wanted to spend a little time on the beach. And then these are my photos, so I would walk around, you know, find a little restaurant on the beach, and I love taking pictures at sunset, you know, so they have the fishing boats and the palm trees, and you could just sit there and take it all in. And everyone's going to need a trip like this soon, and somewhere like this. And then just beautiful, like one of the boats with this beautiful sail, the elephants on it, just very colorful. Wildlife, again, there's the leopard that I never saw, but a lot of people do get to see the leopards of Sri Lanka, one of the largest populations in the world. You know, and they have a lot of anti-poaching programs in Sri Lanka, a lot of national parks, which is really impressive. And then this is a big reason why a lot of people go there, and a lot of families too. It's kind of like, you know, everyone kind of focuses on safaris in Africa, but for kids, it's a great place to go too, because of the chance to see all this wildlife. So some beautiful shots here. So leopards, the whale season as well as whale watching, very distinct type of elephant in Sri Lanka that you'll see a little bit smaller than African elephants. And then so many different varieties of monkeys. I've never seen so many monkeys in my life. They were everywhere, and I love monkeys. I love this shot. This was actually taken by our in-house photographer. His name's Paul Goldstein. If you look him up, he's one of the best, basically one of the best wildlife photographers in the world, and he does specialist trips for us. And so he's actually back in Africa right now doing wildlife photography, and that's one of his pictures of a leopard there. And then these are my pictures, monkey shots. So there's mom and the baby. And then this is actually at our hotel. It looks like hilarious. The one at the bottom right, it looks like they're getting ready to set up for yoga in the yoga room there. So they're like clamoring to get in. They want to do some yoga with us. And then just chilling on the railing as you look out and see all the lushness and greenness as far as the eye can see. Here is our elephant safari. So I took a few, I think those are the egrets, the white bird there. You always see the birds kind of hopping on the back of the elephants. And so we'll take the open air safari trucks, so you get really good photographic opportunities. And we were there just prior to the sun going down. So I had some actually really nice shots as well of the elephants with the sun setting. Just beautiful, peaceful creatures that we got to visit. And then just some of the other shots here. One of the monks, tea plantations, which there are a lot of in Sri Lanka. They're one of their biggest exports in the world is tea. And if you are a temple lover like myself, you're going to see a lot of temples in India. Very impressive, really impressive. And of course, predominantly Buddhism is the predominant religion in Sri Lanka. Which I love, and I loved going to a lot of these temples. So Cave Temple here, which is amazing how they've built it into side. It looks like a wave, the rock. So we spent time there, and there's a giant lion Buddha as well. So the nice thing is a lot of these places we went to, there weren't a lot of people. So you could see a few people here and there, but not hordes of tourists, which is nice. And then some of the other temples that we visited, and a lot of them you'll see, which I love seeing the monks do the prayers, the Om, and they're walking around, and it's a very peaceful, I find temples, especially in Asia, are very peaceful places, and it's a place of reflection. And I find that very moving. So some other shots here. And just, again, I could walk around for hours, and I love how the light shines, and you get the shadows that you see in different angles. And as I've kind of gotten a little more into photography as I travel, I just love what you can see and do with photography at temples, and the colors that you get. And a lot of these are very well restored, and they'll have, they do have guards there, so they're protecting them, and there wasn't, a lot of rubbish, which sometimes sadly you find in certain places. And I mean, look at these like beautiful Buddhas that the one on the right, actually, it maybe doesn't look as big as it is, but that's a massive Buddha built into the side of the rock. So again, I was just, I would stand there, and it's just a wave of almost emotion that comes over you, and just staring at them and their beauty. And you'll get a lot of these, one of the lying ones there. Very impressive. And these are throughout Sri Lanka, and we stop at quite a few of the sites to see them. Yeah, peaceful. And I think that's a big word I found when I was traveling Sri Lanka. I felt laid back and peaceful and calm. And then cycling, and you're kind of seeing as we go through here, you're going from the beach to the, to the temples, to the wildlife, and all these, and it's such, I think it's because some holidays you go on and you're just there for one purpose and one purpose only, and you only kind of go down one path. But in Sri Lanka, there's so many different facets that you can really enjoy when you're there. So cycling, to me, it was one of my favorite days. So we did this trip, and we're going through these beautiful little villages. Easy, anyone can do it. Flat, little rivers. And again, I'd stop and be in awe of some of the bird life, these blue kingfishers and all the amazing bird life. And we got to stop at a few villages where we had our lunch, which should be coming up. And again, the trip that Susan is looking at won't have, don't worry, it's not going to have some high summit trekking at Adams Peak, but just to show you the beauty, it is one of the most beautiful places on earth. And as you can see, there's so much there. So we actually do some trekking trips where you can go up to Adams Peak and the World's End, these amazing mountains and foothills and flowers, incredible flora and fauna. So those are built into some of the itineraries as well. And again, just some of the beauty here that you can see. So it really has something for everybody. Any kind of traveler is going to go to Sri Lanka and find something they love. The big one for me, and it was a highlight, and it was what I was most excited about, was going to see Sigiriya Rock. It's basically a temple, in Sri Lanka. It's revered. There's so much spirituality there, and you'll see it when you're there in different formations. So I always ask if you can see the one on the left. Of course, that's Sigiriya Rock on the right, but on the left, I don't know if anyone notices, but I'll give you a second to look at it, and does it remind you of anything? And what it is, and I'm just waiting. Of course, I can't hear anyone. You can tell me after too, but it's Cobra Rock. So it's the hood of the cobra at the top, right? And then the mouth. And so that's called Cobra Rock. So these beautiful rock formations. And again, we spent 2 days here, and you can go to the top of Sigiriya Rock, and you get this amazing expansive view of the landscape below. And on a clear day, you can see for miles. And again, just stunning. Just stunning. These pictures just bring me back. And here it is. So this is the top view that I took, and you can see the mountains in the background and the lushness of the trees. And we just got to explore, going on the top of Sigiriya Rock before we go back, and then back to the beautiful hotel and swim in the pool and had a wonderful dinner. I don't know if you recognize her from the video, but that's the Mama Curry. So she was lovely, and her, and I didn't get to know everybody, of course, but it was her and her family, and they were bringing out dish by dish and laid it out on this beautiful table. And again, it's not, you're having a meal with a family. You're not eating at a overpriced tourist restaurant at a buffet. And these are the experiences I love that you get. So really authentic and really amazing family and hospitality that you enjoy. And then again, just some of the other images, beautiful flowers, which I love taking pictures of. And there's so much wild flowers. And a lot of the ones on the right are that they pick for spiritual, for ceremonies. So a lot of temples that you can go and buy your flowers and then take it and put it in the pond at the temple. Or so, you know, a lot of flowers everywhere that I saw. And probably this is one of my favorite photos on the left. This is in the city of Kandy, which I really enjoyed. It was kind of a bustling city, very charming little place. Kind of reminded me a lot of the old French style architecture. And you'd find these little cafes and one of the oldest bars that we went into that Suresh took us to, and some amazing food. And this, you can walk around the circumference of this lake, and I'm an early riser. I get up, I have my coffee or in Sri Lanka tea. Tried to get down the instant, but doesn't work. And I do a sunrise walk, and I'll always do a sunset walk because I think that's when you get the best light of the day, in the morning and night. And so I was taking these pictures, and that's the contrast of sunset and sunrise for these two. Beautiful. And you'll see just the colors and the reflection. And so just a wonderful experience in Kandy, which is definitely on that itinerary and worth the visit. And then you go to this, you know, I don't know if anyone's been to the botanical gardens. It used to be the Devonian Botanical Gardens, close to Devon. I think it's run by the University of Alberta now. I was, again, just didn't even expect this. It was a giant area of just trees and gardens and flowers and crazy fruit bats everywhere that I didn't get too close to, but just a beautiful park, and you could walk around and get lost, and it was really quiet. And these funny trees, I don't even know what they're, a form of a spruce tree that were kind of bent over, and then palm fringe avenue, and then some other amazing wildflowers that were everywhere. So we spent a couple hours in this park and just walked around, and it was a really lovely place. Spent an afternoon at a traditional tea plantation. So we got to do a tour there. It was really interesting to learn about it. And so there are quite a few of them in the highlands of Sri Lanka. And then we got to go up to the top and you know, sit down and have a cup of tea, and then you could buy some tea to bring home. So that was a really neat experience that you'll do on the trip. And then this is going back to Kandy. So you get the tuk-tuks and then some of the temples, and then this beautiful, like I said, it kind of reminds me of old French architecture, these buildings with the little verandas that you get. And a lot of them you'll see in Kandy, like I said, have little cafes and restaurants. And I love sitting up there, and you could just watch the world go by, and people walking and tuk-tuks driving around. And for me, my trip ended in Negombo. So, you know, again, you know, your little beach holiday that you want to incorporate or spend a few extra days. So for me, I spent it in Negombo, which is fairly close to Colombo. And I found this wonderful little hotel and had my own little room, and just relaxed and sat by the pool and read my book and just enjoyed the last few days where you just trying to squeeze out every moment because you know you have to get on a plane soon. And wouldn't this be wonderful right now? Wouldn't this be incredible? I could just, all I'm seeing right now is me jumping in that pool and then sitting in one of those lounge chairs and staring up at the palm tree. So this is, you know, again, kind of how my trip ended. And it was a perfect ending for me, for Sri Lanka. And then the Maldives, really close, quick flight. I didn't go, but a few of the people on our trip did, and they loved it. It's spectacular. You can do a sailing trip. You can dive with whale sharks, some of the most beautiful beaches in the world, and water. There's one of the boats that we use in the Maldives. So you get these amazing, it's just a chain of islands throughout the Maldives, and a really nice way to wrap up a holiday if you have, again, the time and the budget. So some of you might want to think of it's a good post trip to do. And then India too, like South India. I myself have not done the South, I've done the North, but you know, from what I know of it and talking to staff and people who have done it, and my boss that's been there many times, it reminds you a lot of parts of Sri Lanka. So you've got the beautiful beaches and the backwaters where we'll do a houseboat and some amazing temples and palaces that you get throughout India. And there's so many, I mean, we have, you know, outside of Europe, India is huge. I mean, there's 19 or so different trip options. And a lot of them are in the south. So a very similar picture to when I was cycling in Sri Lanka, right? So that's kind of cycling along the river channel in South India. And we do a day or two on a houseboat, a traditional houseboat in the backwaters of Kerala. So that's a trip I was supposed to do a couple of years ago, hoping to go back and do it. So some really wonderful opportunities, and then lots of beaches along the southwest coast. And I know when I was supposed to be going, I was kind of doing some research, and there's some lovely little spots along the south coast there to stay. And that, quickly just kind of wraps it up. I'll let Jordana and Susan come back. And
Wow, that was awesome.
I get lost because I just kind of get lost in going back, and it's just, I can just picture when you see pictures that you've taken and the experiences you've had, I just wish I could bottle it up and then go back. Yeah.
No, and every time you talk about it, I want to go much again and again. Do you want to stop sharing your screen and then we can see everybody? That was amazing, amazing presentation. Yeah, the destination itself was just outstanding. And of course, your Europe trips with the biking and everything else like that. So does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask Kent now that we have?
Who wants to go?
Yeah. Well, I see a few names on this list that I'm hoping they've gone, okay, that's what in the heck she was talking about.
I might sneak in there. I might come too.
Hey, we could do that. We could do that. That's for sure. So does anybody have any questions for Kent? And it doesn't have to be on the Sri Lanka. That was the one, of course.
Yeah, any questions you have, feel free.
On the biking or anything else. And on the biking one, people, if they don't want to bike, they don't have to bike, right?
No,
so
never.
Yeah.
I mean, the one day you do in Sri Lanka, it's just cruising around. It's not like a challenging experience at all. So, because we actually do a full cycling trip in Sri Lanka, but that's not the one we incorporate. It's just like a couple hours. So no, you don't want to do that. It's too hot.
Yeah, no kidding. So, does anybody have any questions for Kent?
And I was going to say too, if you think about it later, just get in touch, and then you can get in touch with me. And
because they're a bunch of shy bunch. Because I don't.
You can put it in the chat box too.
Yes, you could do that as well. So so that's really exciting. You've already been doing some trips over in Europe, is that correct? And you've been
some internationally. Again, it's kind of it goes like we know, it's kind of week by week basis. And we're hopeful that we're going to get a move on things here. And I'll be honest, most people, it's kind of, we're seeing bookings kind of 2022 onwards.
Mm-hmm.
I think months ago we were optimistic that fall maybe, but unfortunately, we're not quite there. But and the one thing I do want to reiterate, I think is really important, if you do want to go on a trip, whether it be this Sri Lanka trip or any other trip, we are seeing, and we know, you talk to people in the industry, there's going to be so much demand that it is not going to be easy to get on trips, especially last minute. It's going to be imperative you book early to secure spots on any trip you do, whether it's with Exodus or any other supplier, that. And flights are going to be in demand. So I encourage people, if they really want to go, do not leave it. You'll be disappointed. Yeah,
absolutely. I know it kind of seems weird that we're talking about a trip 2 years in advance, but that's what we're going to need to do. Stacy had a really great question.
I saw.
And you did? I was like, darn, I never thought of that.
You know what? It is a great question about the bugs. And I thought about that because I've been in places, especially places in Asia, that I've had issues. And you know what? That trip in Sri Lanka, hardly even noticed it.
Really?
I can't tell you why. I'd have to ask Suresh, the guy, because like I said, I'm still in touch with him, but I'd have to ask him if there's like a bug season, because we were there pretty typical time of year, and there didn't seem to be, I don't recall, I didn't come home with any bites. I wasn't feeling mosquitoes. I think that's another reason I loved it, because sometimes you go on a holiday, you're just losing it, from flies or mosquitoes, and I don't recall any there.
Oh, good. Great question.
So,
and if you've muted yourself, you please unmute you, or I can do that for you if you have a question. There we go.
There we go. Sorry.
That's okay, Denise.
Hi.
Didn't know how to unmute us.
It's the fun of technology, eh?
I got a quick question, Kent. On the trip to, I think there's biking, but there wasn't any hiking. Can you kind of separate from the group and go on a big hike, or do you have?
So are we talking about Sri Lanka?
Yeah, Sri Lanka. Yeah.
It would depend. So it all usually depends on, because a lot of our trips, and I'd have to look at the specific one, and Susan and I can look at it. On specific trips, we'll have usually we'll maybe have an optional day, but what it always depends on where are we at that time, right? So if we are in the vicinity of, say, Adams Peak or what have you in Sri Lanka, and there's an opportunity to do it, that we can look at it. But if it doesn't allow for time or we're not in the vicinity of, it's a bit tricky. But if you are interested in going and just remember that question and let Susan know, and then I can find out for sure.
Make a note of it, will you, Sue?
Make a note of that.
Okay. Yeah.
I will.
Because I mean, typically, to be honest, the itineraries are fairly set. Like they kind of have plans day to day. But the one we're looking at, the premium one that Susan and I are looking at for 2023, it's got a nice array of a bit of everything.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, and I enjoyed, like at Cigarette Rock, you get to do a bit of. It's quite a good hike up to the top. I mean, I love doing anything active, but I found it was a nice balance on that trip. And you don't want to do a ton of it at certain times of year because it's quite humid.
March is a good time to go, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's awesome. Thanks, guys, for asking such a great question. How long is the trip to Sri Lanka? Oh, awesome question. That one is 9 days.
I think it. Here,
I should know that off the top of my head because I have.
I can tell you. Just give me 1 sec. Because yeah, I think it was 12, but
12 days, and then we'll be going down in at least 1 day ahead of time, of course, to recover from jet lag and to lay on the beach if we have to.
Yes, my other recommendation, because I went through it. 15 days. The one we're looking at, premium's 15, which is good because there's so much on that one. So my recommendation, because I didn't really have a choice, but I got stuck, and I got there basically late the night before and had to leave the next day because we got stuck in Hong Kong. So my recommendation always, if I'm going over, like especially when I'm doing a long haul flight, either break it up and do a stopover when you can. So KLM's a big one to Sri Lanka, so you can stop over in Amsterdam, what have you, or you're going to go via Asia somewhere. So it could be Hong Kong or who knows, right, Bangkok or what have you. So it's always nice to break it up, but it also makes it a bit easier in the transition, and always leave yourself extra time. Because I don't know how many times it's either happened to me or travelers where you either miss a connection, which I did, or you try to arrive the day of and you're just a wreck because you haven't acclimatized and you're not ready to go. And then it kind of sets you back for the first couple of days. So if you can, I always build in myself. I like to have at least a day or two on either end.
Yeah. And then of course, if you want to take a 3-week trip, then you can just pop on over to the Maldives and spend a week there, right?
Yeah, sip on a cocktail and hang out with some blue whales.
Right. So those are great questions. Anybody else have any questions?
And again, if they come up, just let Susan know and or Jordana and the team there at Expedia, and I'm happy to get back to you. And if I don't know, all I do is I check with my trip manager and my guide, who I'm in constant contact with. So
the coffee thing is kind of a concern, though.
It's a bummer. I'm not gonna lie. I drink bucket loads in the morning, and when I got to Sri Lanka, I'm like, what? And it's not. They're not in Asia. They're not big on coffee, right? They're more tea drinkers. And I did have coffee, but it's not like you want good coffee, you go to Colombia. Like they have amazing coffee. But Sri Lanka, no, not known for the coffee. So I had to get over my temper tantrum there.
How's the wine?
The beer was okay.
Oh, the beer.
Wine.
Yeah.
What?
Well, it's okay, but you got to think again. You're not in Europe, right? So.
Yeah.
Cocktails. They did have wine, but you're not. I mean, they import it, of course, right? But it's decent beer, cocktails, tea.
Traveling with amazing people.
Yep.
Yeah.
So do you have dates in mind or just approximate time of year?
Towards the end of March 2023, and we'll be there during the full moon because that's a really important part of the Buddhist thing. So I don't have the exact date yet.
We're gonna figure it out and
you
can let everyone know and let your friends know.
All righty. Well, they're all on here, so that's
And seriously, I have traveled. I've been very blessed. I've traveled the world, a good chunk of the world, and it is one of my favorite places by far,
yeah.
hands
So,
down.
yeah, super excited. Can hardly wait. And after this last year and us not being able to travel,
We need something to look forward to.
right, and
Yeah.
no more putting off the bucket list trips. So that's for sure. So we're just going to get her done now. So
Yeah.
perfect. I just had Jordana.
Yeah.
Want me to have the time off. Well,
I'll bug her. I'll bug her.
unfortunately, her boss is going to be traveling way too much. So somebody
Gonna have to close the office, I guess.
maybe. Anyways, I don't want to keep anybody longer.
Okay.
Thank you everyone for joining on.
Yeah,
Really
thanks, Ken.
appreciate your
Yeah,
time.
thanks for taking the time. Yeah, everyone have a great night. Hopefully we see you down the road sometime.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, if you have any questions, get a hold of travel consultant. Oh, I got an echo.
Nice echo.
Everyone, thanks.
Hey, see you guys. Have a good night.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
Bye. Bye.